Nancy was standing in her bathroom at 6 in the morning, doing the thing almost every woman over 60 does at least once a week. She was pulling the skin near her jaw back with 2 fingers, just to see what her face used to look like, just for a second. Then she let go and watched it settle back into the same soft folds it had been in for the last few years. She wasn't vain, she'd tell you that herself. But there's a particular kind of grief in watching your own face change in the mirror and not recognizing the timeline of it, like someone rewrote the last 10 years without asking you. Here's what I want to say to you before anything else, because I think you deserve the truth up front, not a promise dressed up to get you to keep watching. You may have clicked on this video because the title said something could eliminate your wrinkles. I need to correct that right now, in the first 30 seconds, because if I let that claim stand, everything else I tell you would be worthless. Nothing you drink, eat, or rub on your skin eliminates a wrinkle that's already there. Not this, not retinol, not $100 cream. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling you a feeling, not a fact. What I'm going to show you today does something different, and honestly, something better than elimination, because elimination implies a magic erase button, and your skin doesn't work that way. What we're talking about is giving your body back a raw material it has quietly stopped making enough of. And when researchers have actually measured what happens when women in their 60s do this consistently, the results were real. Not miracle real. Measurable. Meaningful. My skin specialist noticed, real. Nancy didn't know any of this yet. All she knew was that her skin felt thinner than it used to. Not just looser, thinner. Like the padding underneath had gone somewhere. She wasn't wrong. And what's actually going on underneath that feeling is stranger and more fixable than she ever would have guessed. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly what to put in your water glass tomorrow morning, why timing matters more than the ingredient itself, and one thing almost everyone gets wrong that cancels out the whole benefit before it starts. Let's start with the question Nancy actually asked her dermatologist that week. Did I do something wrong? The answer surprised her. No, she didn't do anything wrong. Her body did something completely normal. It just happens to be a kind of normal that nobody explains to you in advance. Here's the part that tends to stop people mid-scroll when they hear it for the first time. Roughly a third of the total protein in your entire body is collagen. Not just your skin, your tendons, your blood vessels, your joints, the scaffolding holding basically everything together. And starting in your mid-20s, your body's collagen-producing cells, called fibroblasts, begin slowing down, quietly, about 1 to 1.5% less production, every single year, for decades, with almost no symptoms you'd notice in your 30s or 40s. Then something happens that most people have never heard of. Researchers studying the biology of aging have identified specific ages where the body doesn't decline gradually, it shifts, like a gear changing. And 2 of the ages where this shift shows up most clearly in the data are 44 and 60. 60. If you're watching this at 60 or close to it, you're not imagining that things feel different lately. Something in your biology actually did change gears around now. That's not a scare tactic, that's what the research shows, and I think you deserve to know it, instead of being told your skin is just getting older, like that explains anything. Before I give you that number, I want you to promise me something. Stay with me even when it sounds scary, because there's a much better number coming right after it. By the time most people reach their 60s, they've lost close to half the collagen density they had in their 20s. For women, it's often worse in a specific window. The 5 years around menopause can account for up to 30% of that loss on its own, because estrogen is one of the signals that tells fibroblasts to keep working. When estrogen drops, that signal gets quieter. This is the part where I want to pause, because I know what it feels like to hear a number like, you've lost half of it, and feel your stomach drop a little. So let's sit in that for 1 second, and then let's move to the part that actually matters more. What you can still do about the collagen you have left, and the collagen your body can still make, right now, at your age. Because here's what almost nobody tells you. Your fibroblasts don't retire, they slow down. That's a completely different thing. A slower factory can still be given better materials and run more efficiently. It just needs the right inputs, at the right time, consistently. And that's where Nancy's water glass comes in. Before we get to what goes in it, there's something I need you to understand first, because it's the single most misunderstood part of this whole topic, and getting it wrong is why so many people try a collagen product for 2 weeks, give up, and tell their friends it didn't do anything. The mistake is treating this like a light switch instead of a garden. When Nancy first heard about drinking collagen in water, she pictured it working the way a filler injection works. Instant, visible, done. That is not how oral collagen works, and if you go in expecting that, you will be disappointed by day 10 and quit right when your body was about to start showing you something. Here's the actual science, and I want to walk you through it slowly, because the mechanism is honestly kind of beautiful. When you drink hydrolyzed collagen, meaning collagen that's been broken down into small peptide fragments, so your gut can actually absorb it instead of just digesting it like any other protein, those peptide fragments travel through your bloodstream and reach your skin's dermis layer. And here's the surprising part, the part that made researchers sit up. Those fragments don't just become raw material, they act like a signal. They tell your fibroblasts, hey, there's demand for more collagen, get back to work. It's less like refilling a tank and more like tapping a sleeping worker on the shoulder. That's why this takes weeks, not days. Your fibroblasts have to actually respond, ramp back up, and start laying down new collagen fibers. In the clinical trials that have measured this properly, real placebo-controlled studies, not testimonials, the earliest meaningful changes in skin density and texture typically showed up around 6 weeks in, with the more dramatic results, the ones you can see with your own eyes in a mirror, showing up closer to 12 weeks. 12 weeks, 3 months. I'm telling you that number now, up front, so that when you try this, you don't quit at day 9 feeling like it failed. It didn't fail, it just hadn't had time to work yet. Here's the part I really want you to catch, because this next piece is the single most common mistake people make with this whole routine, and it's an easy one to fix once you see it. Now, the ingredient itself, and specifically why vitamin C has to be part of this conversation, because leaving it out is the single most common mistake people make. Collagen peptides alone, without vitamin C, are working with one hand tied behind their back. Here's why. Your body doesn't build finished collagen straight out of the peptides you drink. It has to assemble it, and one critical step in that assembly, stabilizing the triple helix structure that gives collagen its strength, and cross-linking the fibers so they actually hold together, requires vitamin C as a cofactor. Without enough vitamin C, that assembly step gets sloppy. The raw material shows up, but the construction crew is missing a tool. This is the detail Nancy said she wished someone had told her on day 1, because she'd almost bought a plain collagen powder with nothing else in it. This is why, in the actual clinical research, the combination of collagen peptides with vitamin C consistently outperformed collagen alone. One well-designed trial gave women in their 40s through 60s a daily combination of collagen and vitamin C for 16 weeks, and measured real, validated changes in skin density and texture using imaging tools, not just how do you feel surveys. Another 12-week trial using a marine collagen source found a 35% reduction in wrinkle score compared to placebo, measured with imaging software, not guesswork. I want to be precise with you here, because precision is what separates an honest video from a hype video. Not every study found improvement in every measurement. Some found real change in wrinkle depth and skin texture, but no significant change in elasticity. Skin biology is complicated, and multiple things are happening at once: hydration, elasticity, density, wrinkle depth, and they don't all move together on the same timeline. Anyone who tells you this fixes everything, uniformly, in every person, isn't being straight with you. What the honest research shows is a real, repeatable, meaningful effect on some of the most visible markers of skin aging. That's not nothing, that's actually a lot. Nancy started her version of this on a Tuesday. Nothing dramatic. She stirred a scoop of collagen peptide powder into a glass of water, added the juice of half a lemon for the vitamin C, and drank it before breakfast. She told me later she almost didn't keep going, because for the first month, she genuinely couldn't tell if anything was happening. That's normal. Remember the garden, not the light switch. Here's where I need you to lean in again, because we're about to get into the 4 things that are quietly working against your collagen without you realizing it. And the third one surprised even me when I looked into the research, because it's something almost every well-meaning person over 60 does on purpose, thinking it's healthy. The first thing working against your collagen is sun exposure, and I promise I'm not going to lecture you about sunscreen for 10 minutes. Here's the mechanism, quickly. Ultraviolet light triggers enzymes in your skin, called matrix metalloproteinases. Think of them as tiny demolition crews that break down existing collagen faster than your slowed-down fibroblasts can replace it. Decades of cumulative sun exposure is a huge part of why skin on your face and hands ages faster than skin that's been covered by clothing your whole life. The fix isn't complicated. Daily sunscreen, even on cloudy days, even just on your face and hands, meaningfully slows this demolition crew down. The second is sugar, and this connects to something a lot of you have heard me talk about before with blood sugar after 60. When your blood sugar runs high, sugar molecules attach themselves to collagen fibers in a process called glycation. It's a bit like what happens to bread left out too long. It stiffens, it browns, it loses flexibility. Glycated collagen is stiffer and more brittle, and it makes skin look and feel less supple. This is one more reason blood sugar management matters for something you might not have connected to it at all: your skin. Now stay with me for this next one, because driver number 3 is the one almost nobody talks about, and it might change how you think about eating healthy after 60. The third one is the one that surprised me, and I want you to really sit with this one, because I think a lot of well-intentioned people over 60 are doing this thinking it's a health habit, over-restricting protein. Nancy told me this one landed hardest for her, because she'd spent the last 2 years quietly eating smaller portions of meat and eggs, telling herself it was the lighter, healthier thing to do at her age. Here's the thing. A lot of people in their 60s and 70s, worried about kidney health or just eating lighter as they age, quietly cut back on protein without realizing that protein, specifically amino acids like glycine, proline, and lysine, is the actual building block your fibroblasts need to make collagen in the first place. You cannot build a house with no bricks, no matter how good your construction crew is. If you're under-eating protein, you may be working against your own skin without knowing it. Now, I want to pause here and be very direct with you, because this is exactly the kind of moment where a video like this could accidentally do harm if I'm not careful. If you have diagnosed kidney disease or you've been told by a doctor to watch your protein intake, please do not take this as permission to suddenly increase your protein or start a new collagen supplement on your own. Please talk to your nephrologist or renal dietitian first. Your kidney health has to come before any skin goal, always, no exceptions. For most people without kidney disease, moderate protein intake plus a collagen supplement is well tolerated, but most people isn't everyone, and I'd rather you check with your own doctor than assume this applies to you. One more thing before we finish this list, because the last driver is the one most people dismiss completely, and it might be the easiest one to fix of all 4. And the fourth thing, working against your collagen, sleep, or rather, the lack of deep sleep. Nancy told me this was the one she'd always dismissed as a luxury instead of a repair job, something she could shortchange without consequence. Your body does the majority of its tissue repair, including collagen synthesis, during deep sleep stages. Chronically poor sleep isn't just about feeling tired the next day. It's about your fibroblasts missing their nightly work shift, over and over, for years. 4 things: sun, sugar, under-eating protein, and poor sleep. All 4 are quietly working against the exact thing we're trying to help your water glass rebuild. And I promise you, none of these are about doing something extreme. They're about not accidentally sabotaging your own progress. There's one more thing I want to show you before we get to what to actually do about all this, because it's the study that genuinely surprised the researchers who ran it, not the marketing, the actual paper. A systematic review pulling together more than 20 clinical trials and over 1,700 participants, mostly women, mostly in midlife and beyond, found consistent, measurable improvements in skin elasticity and hydration from collagen supplementation. Not one small study, a synthesis of many, and a separate meta-analysis focused specifically on wrinkles found consistent reduction across the pooled trials. Here's what surprised the scientists, in their own words in these papers. The effect held up even when they filtered out lower quality studies. That's the detail that matters. In nutrition science, a lot of promising looking effects disappear once you remove the weaker studies. This one didn't disappear. It held. That doesn't mean this is a miracle. It's not going to turn back 30 years. But it means that when Nancy stands in her bathroom in 12 weeks and does that same little test, pulling gently at the skin near her jaw and watching it settle back, there's real, published, repeated evidence that what settles back may hold a little more shape than it did today. So here's exactly what to do, and I'm going to keep this simple on purpose, because the people who stick with this long enough to see results are the ones who made it boring and automatic, not complicated. Each morning, stir 1 scoop, typically 5 to 10 grams, check your specific product's label, of hydrolyzed collagen peptides into a full glass of water. Add a source of vitamin C. This can be the juice of half a lemon or orange, or a vitamin C supplement if you prefer. Generally, somewhere around 50 to 100 milligrams is plenty to support the process. You don't need a massive dose. More isn't better here. Drink it on an empty stomach, before breakfast, so it isn't competing with a big meal for absorption. Timing matters more than people think. Drinking it right before bed doesn't hurt, but morning, on an empty stomach, tends to be when studies show the best absorption. Think of it as sending your fibroblasts their instructions first thing, before the rest of your day's food traffic shows up. And here's the piece almost everyone gets wrong, the one I promised you at the start. They take the collagen, but they skip the vitamin C, because it feels like an extra step. Please don't skip it. Without it, you're sending raw materials to a construction site with no crew to assemble them. Give it a real 12 weeks before you judge whether it's working. Take a photo today, in the same light, same angle, and don't look at it again until week 6, and then week 12. Your eyes lie to you day to day. A 12-week comparison doesn't. And alongside it, protect the progress you're building. Sunscreen in the morning, even on the days you don't feel like it. Keep an eye on blood sugar, since we now know it's quietly tied to how flexible your collagen stays. Don't cut protein out of fear, unless a doctor has specifically told you to, and if they have, work with them, not around them. And protect your sleep, because that's when the actual repair work happens. None of that is extreme. None of it requires you to become a different person at 68 or 72. It just requires you to stop quietly working against the very thing you're trying to help. Picture it 12 weeks from now, catching your own reflection in a store window on an ordinary afternoon, and for just a second, not scanning it for what's wrong, just recognizing yourself in it. That's the actual goal here, not a different face, just one that feels a little more like yours again. Nancy is 12 weeks in as I'm telling you this. She told me the change wasn't dramatic in the way she expected. Nobody stopped her on the street. But her daughter, who hadn't been told anything about the experiment, asked her out of nowhere if she'd changed her skincare routine, because her skin looked less tired. Nancy hadn't changed a single cream, she'd changed her water glass. That's not eliminating wrinkles, that's something more honest and more durable, giving a slowed-down system the raw materials and the timing it actually needs to do the job it still knows how to do. You are not too old for your body to respond to this. 60 is not the finish line for your fibroblasts, it's just the point where they need a little more help than they used to, and now you know exactly what that help looks like. Before you go, there's a part of this collagen story we haven't touched yet, and it might matter to you even more than your skin does. That same collagen your fibroblasts are quietly failing to keep up with isn't just holding your face together, it's the cushioning between your joints. And there's a reason so many people over 60 notice their knees or their hands before they ever notice a single wrinkle. That story, what's actually happening inside your joints right now, and the one habit that's been shown to help rebuild that cushioning, that's exactly what we're getting into next. Because your skin was never the whole story, it was just the part you could see.